Welcome, Wargamers. Join your hosts, Balco and Monty, two Canadian wargaming enthusiasts, as we explore all aspects of tabletop wargaming. We roll dice, talk tactics, share hobby hacks, and explore new tabletop systems, all on the Trident Wargaming Podcast.
Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Trident Wargaming. Today's episode is for the boys. This episode in particular is going to be all about men's mental health and suicide prevention. We are joined with our special guest, JP, who's actually going to be hosting an event specifically for this. It's the 40 Hours of 40K. It's going to be hosted here in Edmonton. And, without further ado, let's jump in and talk with JP so he can tell us all about it.
So, yeah, I'm just a little background about me first. I'm a retired military veteran, served 23 years in the armed forces, did about 8 deployments overseas. And in 2019, when I retired, I was struggling a little bit with the whole identity of me being in the Army since I was 16. And I remembered that I used to paint minis when I was 15 to maybe 21, 22. And my therapist at the time was like, well, maybe you should explore that again and revisit it. So in April 2019, I kind of bought back more paints because all my paint obviously dried out after not being touched for 10 years plus, 15 years almost. And I started painting just to kind of take my mind off of things. And then next thing you know, Instagram started to get a bit more populated with a lot of similar accounts, and I met this guy from Red Eagle Studio in the UK that is a phenomenal painter. If you don't know Bobby Clark, you should definitely look him out because he's very talented. And we started to chat, and he was doing this 40 Hours 40K charity in the UK. And I'm like, I have time. I'm not the best painter. I'm looking at you guys, but I want to help. And he's like, dude, for next year, 2020, let us know, and we'll bring you on board. And that's kind of where my journey started with 40 Hours 40K. In 2020, we did a Necron army. It was about 2,500 points, and it was about 15, 20 artists from all over the world that did paint that army. And then that year we did an auction, and then the army itself sold for 4,400 pounds, I think. So just shy of 10 grand, which was a good chunk of change. At the time. We're pretty impressed. And this year I was invited back, and we did 1,000 Sun Army, as you might have seen on my profile. But this time around we didn't want to do a raffle, an auction, because we were afraid that what if a guy bid $1,000 and that's the biggest thing we have, and we have 30 some artists that just divided the workload and did a lot of work behind that. It would be a little disappointing. So what we've done instead is we just did raffle tickets. So if you donate $50 to the charity, that's 10 tickets, right? $5 a ticket's kind of deal. That way, a little Timmy, whereas pocket money, can potentially win a professionally painted army. That turned out to be fantastic. And this year, I actually made the journey to the UK to meet with the guys, meet my actual coach that I have been using for the last year or so. And I had an idea behind my mind that I wanted to kind of pitch an expansion. Because this charity, yes, it's good. They've raised 35,000 pounds over the last 4 years, which is phenomenal. And it goes towards men's mental health and suicide prevention in the UK only. Being in the military, having struggled with mental health and issues, having lost many friends to suicide, I was like, oh, that's cool. I really want to get involved with you guys, but I'd like to be able to do something here where the money actually stays here, helping our guys. And it was well received, and they agreed to let me kind of branch out and start my own chapter. And then 40 Hours 40K _Canada was born. And with that, I had to start recruiting my own guys because I didn't want to poach any guys for the UK. I feel like it was the right thing to do. So I did a call to arms a couple months ago, and wow, I was pretty mind blown with the responses. Couple local guys, a bunch of guys. I have guys from BC to Nova Scotia at this point. Stiff Neck Studio in the States are going to be pitching in as well, which is it's a pretty big studio. These guys are good. And Bobby Clark from the UK stood down this year after the event. It was a bit too much, and his full-time job is also commission. But it was too much managing like 30 plus artists from all over the world, including like Australia, Germany, France, Italy, so forth and so on, and us, obviously, in Canada. So I took the BC guys, which were originally like BC Battle Brothers. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them. They do the circus for all the tournaments and whatnot. So
okay,
I know they have their own like jersey and team. They're pretty into mostly AOS, not 40K. But they decided to help out this year. So I think I have at least like 5 or 6 of the BC Battle Brothers that are going to be painting stuff. And some of them might even come and do the journey for the event in September next year to actual play. Because it's called 40 hours of 40K because the guys actually plays for 40 hours straight. So, awesome. So like it's funny. I was there in the UK this year, like I said, and then it's like I didn't stay there for 40 hours. Obviously, I went to bed at some point. I'm not that crazy, but when I got back in the morning, I could see the long faces. The guys like rolling dice. I'm like, wow, these guys are heroes. And mostly Army dudes as well. Like Royal Air Force was mostly because the lead guy for the charity in the UK, Andrew Weller. He's a Warhammer hero, and he's also like a serviceman as well. So we've decided on an orc army for next year, which everybody's pretty excited about because orcs are cool. You can go pretty wild with the orcs, and I also was able to got a lot of positive responses from local game store just for donation. Like every single model were donated by the store, every single one of them. Like we have like just shy of a 2,500 point army. Good lineup of really, really sick models, and everything was donated. I got like a Fenris workshop in Quebec City, obviously here in Edmonton, like Dave at Red Claw, and then Rob and Jay at IPG, and then Lane at Taps Game, all donated like a significant amount of models. And there'll be like raffle prize every month kind of deal. I want the news to be involved and doing podcasts like this just to raise awareness. This is my 3rd podcast talking about it, and I don't plan to stop. Like I want this to kind of gradually build towards the event in September, and September 22nd, 23rd, I believe, is the day that we're going to be running the event at IPG this year. Okay. I'd like to rotate around, like next year, like in 2023. 2024, I mean, we could do like Red Claw, or Tap, so it doesn't matter. I want to give love to everybody, just to kind of raise, like obviously to give them some publicity as well. So since I want the news involved, like I want the news to be there on the day of, kind of do like a quick split shot on TV, kind of have the interviews for the owners as to why they wanted to get involved, and myself and a couple players, and see if we can raise our target that is set at $10,000 this year. Like, I mean, last year we raised £14,000 in the UK alone. I figured 10 grand Canadian is like it's a fraction of that. So we could, if we explode it and it goes above and beyond, awesome. And the charity that we picked, because the event is the event itself, but the charity that I piggybacked on, I didn't want to create my own charity because I figured it'd be a lot of hoops to jump through, and I was not ready to go down that route this year. So Heads Up Guys out of UBC is a charity that will be receiving the funds that we raise for next year. They're just working right now on our own specific donation page. So we have a count, like a ticker of how much money we've raised specifically through our initiative. So these guys are super excited, obviously, because we're setting a big target. And with my 20 plus artists that we have this year, like I don't see any problem getting the army painted like at a very high standard. Like we have a couple guys that like James Craig. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him. He is from Belleville, Ontario. He has 11 golden demons under his belt. So the guy's really good.
No doubt.
And he's like, I might try again soon just to round it up to 12. I'm like, you do that, James.
Yeah,
you do
very
that.
nice.
Pretty good.
So that's kind of how it all started. It was at first something for me to kind of get my heads off stuff that I was struggling with, and then COVID hit, and all of a sudden I'm home. I don't have to work because I have like disability deal going on with VAC rehab programs and whatnot. So I was like, now's the time. So I went all in. My wife at the time, God bless her soul, she was like, "You gonna do what now? you gonna paint a little plastic guy for a living?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to do that. It's gonna be good." And she's like, she's coming from a family of highly educated persons. Like her dad is a doctor, everybody's a teacher or a lawyer. So I'm like, hey, army guy here. It's just like high school diploma. I'm gonna paint minis for a living. And so she laughed a little bit. She had a hard time believing it at first. But now look at me, like the basement was completely finished just for that purpose, and she's fully on board, and she knows that the commissions are doing good, and I'm doing a lot of good work for raising awareness to men's mental health in Canada. It's pretty bleak. Guys our age are usually the main guys that decide to take their lives in statistically. So it's God's work, right? It's a good thing to be able to raise awareness for that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. Absolutely. That's where I'm at now. I'm in. I'm just waiting for one box that Canada Post lost to finish sending my artists their models, and then I think January, February is kind of when guys are gonna start like posting stuff on Instagram. And I'll be doing as well, like the repost and kind of give full awareness to the event and kind of build that momentum from month to month, so that by the time September rolls in, we have players. Like I need players. I'm not a player myself. I'm a painter, collector first and foremost. I might dabble into playing at some point. I do have a pretty huge orc army that just needs to be built, so I wouldn't mind playing them. But I'll need players. So that's another reason why I want to get involved with a lot of guys that do podcasts like this. So if there's guys that want to come and roll some dice for the charity, they don't have to be there for 40 hours, obviously. But I need a couple teams of hardcore guys be like, yeah, we'll be there and we'll do it. I'll provide Red Bulls and coffee if I have to. Those poor souls.
I know. I was going to say I know a couple hardcores that'd probably be interested in jumping in.
That'd be awesome.
Share the word on it, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the 40K communities.
We'll be doing like other ways to raise money at the event itself. Like I know the wives are going to be baking like delicious little sticky treats and stuff, and we'll be like selling Red Bulls and Gatorades and stuff like that to get the guys going. And T-shirts are going to be made, and I got stickers now for the new actual charity logo for Canada, which turned out to be really, really good. I have a buddy of mine who's in the army who was also a tattoo artist, and he designed my studio logo. He designed a charity logo, and it looks professional. With the website being launched and everything, like I feel like we've gained a bit of credibility when it comes to like asking for people for money. Like it's one thing, like it's not. I just don't want people thinking that it's out of my garage, or like it is out of my basement, but the basement is pretty professionally set up now, and I want people to believe that this is going to, for the right reason, helping men's mental health and suicide prevention.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Well, the cause is definitely a big one. It's something that I know we were recently talking about on one of our pages. Some people, especially around the holidays right now, is kind of when it hits really hard for people.
Yes.
And there was just a good network of players, and it's just saying, hey, maybe we could all just jump on Discord and paint and just talk or whatever.
I know about that.
Right?
Yeah, this is actually pretty fun. That I have a hubby hangout on Thursday with the UK guys.
Okay.
And I usually just join in and work on whatever I'm working on. There's sometimes like 4 or 5 of us on this from time to time, and then we just chat around, have a drink, and kind of just do our own thing, kind of show what we're working on, and it's cool. I like that. I really do enjoy that that community. It's quite rich Like even like when I went to the UK, like I never met these guys. Like I mean, I've been dealing with them for 2 years straight, but when I showed up, it was like we've been buds for like ever, like forever. Like it's so cool. It was really good. It was a really good hobby round. I think we went to Warhammer World. Obviously, we did the whole like the pilgrimage of every good nerd people, and it was amazing. Like I was blown away by Warhammer World. Like I knew it was big. I just didn't know how big it was. It was so cool, and I'll go back like for sure. Like it's one of those things. Like it's not a one and done, you know. And maybe one day do a Golden Demon. Who knows? I wouldn't mind trying my hand at that one day when I believe I'm good enough. Because their paint jobs are getting like ridiculous. You see the guys that wins now, you're like, holy, I don't know how they do that.
It doesn't even look like a model anymore. It looks like a piece of artwork that you see kind of snapshot in time.
Yeah, sometimes I show accounts to my wife and she's like, this is painted? It's like, yeah, it is painted. She's like, whoa. It's like, yeah. Whoa indeed.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like painting and this hobby itself is such a relief for people as well, right? Like, I mean, we all enjoy it. We all love it. You know, and individuals who do have any issues and whatnot, you know, problems throughout life, they come back to this hobby, and it really puts them in a peaceful state.
It was pretty crazy how many people kind of did that when COVID hit. Like and you know, like when we did like we had to do a little intro video of ourselves 2 years ago for the charity, and you know, they were asking a little bit, like you said, like why 40K, how long you've been doing this, and then why mental health is important to you, kind of deal, and then talk about yourself a little bit. And when my video went live, I've had like a ridiculous amount of stranger reaching out to me on sliding in my DM, be like, dude, I can relate so much to your story. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm like, oh, I guess that's a good feeling. That's why I'm doing this then. Mm-hmm. This is good. I'm doing this for a good cause. Some random guys out of the blue just messaging me, and like guys with similar experiences, like army tours, like traumas and stuff like that. But also like just really dudes that, you know, like father, sons, brothers, they're like, yeah, I lost my brother to this, I lost my dad to that, and then there's like the hobby really helps me out. I'm like, get it, I sure do. I mean, when I'm here and I do my art and I do paint my stuff, I don't think about anything. I put usually a good podcast on or some YouTube lore stuff about Warhammer, or just like a straight up book, Audible for Warhammer, and just plowing through the Horus Heresy right now. I think I'm at book 37. I'm like, I can see the end. This is amazing. But I love it. I spend like hours on end. Like this is my full-time job. When my wife's a teacher, when she leaves in the morning, it's 7:30. I'm up and I'm going down the basement with a coffee, and I start painting right away. You know, I usually stop around noon, make sure the dogs are taken care of, and then paint until 3. And then usually I stop at 3, go walk the dogs, prep the dinner, whatever my wife needs help with, and then that's my day. Rinse and repeat. And it's I'm in a very good position. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to do this full time. I really enjoy that. Couldn't ask for better. So,
no
that's
doubt.
awesome.
It's the nice thing about commissions, right? It's a very unique like field of work to be in, and to be kind of like, you know, you're always grinding on something. There's always something new. There's a, you know, new batch of models, which is kind of neat too. I definitely
Votan was released a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
Votans are cool. Yes, sign me up. You know, I just want a client to call me like, oh, I have a Votan army to paint. It's like, oh yes, send it to me, please.
Well, that's awesome. It just keeps the palette so fresh, right? There's a few guys out there, and how they do it, it's just awesome. I tried to just slowly dip into doing commissions at one point in time, and it just, you know, you put in so much time on these models, and when they go, I was just like, oh man, that was my part. It was kind of letting it go was the hardest part.
Are gone.
Yeah, you just put them out there, and you're like, oof. There goes, you know, 30 hours of my life. Oh God, right? It's just, yeah. I stick to pretty much personal projects these days.
2023 will be a bit different. Like I had some really big commission this year. Like I had like a 5,000 point Templar army that I'm still plowing through. Like the guy keeps adding stuff, but it's okay because he's in no rush. He works away, so he's gone like 12 on, 4 off kind of deal or whatever. Like oil and gas kind of deal. Lots of disposable income, so he doesn't care. He loves my work, and whenever I quote him, he's like, "Yep, cool. He's like, but he keeps adding stuff. I think I've been working on that commission since the summer, and I'm not remotely close to be done. Like, so sometimes I do other side projects just as a palate cleanser because it's a lot. And then Anton here in town, like he got me like a Caradon army to do as well. And I'm almost done with them. I just have like the big boats to finish, and then some of the named characters. But that's been a fantastic commission to do. Like I really enjoy the Caradon Overlords. I think they're fantastic. They're easy to paint, and it's easy to make them pop and make them like super interesting. So plus whatever I'm doing with my coach, I do coaching like 2 hours a week, every week with this guy, and we paint a model from start to finish together. So I've done like I don't know, maybe half a dozen model with him so far. And then January we started a new one, and it's a big one. We're doing like Fate Weaver.
Oh wow!
So it's the big guy.
Very nice.
I've never done something that big, so that should be interesting. Like I've done Bellacore before, and I was cool for a quick commission for a dude. But this one, like with all the color and the intricacy of the model, and I went kind of overboard for the base, so it's going to be fun to do the base as well. So yeah, super excited for that. But next year I might dial down on commissions so I can do a bit more of my stuff as well, because I kind of miss doing that. Or a smaller project maybe. I probably wouldn't sign up for 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points army for next year just because it takes a lot of my time. And I like that it pays, and it pays well, and it pays, you know, it paid for the UK, and it's paying for LVO in January, and you know I'm taking a class with Andy Wardle. Like I don't care, like it's the commission paid for that. Plus, it's a business expense. So
yeah,
win-win.
That's awesome.
yeah, win-win. So I really, I'm glad for that, and I know that, you know, like going on a masterclass series with a guy of that level, or even like I know Ben Cummett was there as well. I had to kind of toss the coin between the twos. That's a huge opportunity, I think, and maybe one day I can do something like that. I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, you know, teaching is a good thing that I was doing in the army that I enjoy, and I do teach at Clumsy Dragons from time to time, like small group like projects and stuff. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had a community league of D&D players, mostly like kids, like 14, 15, like 10 to 14 maybe, and they just wanted to paint their own little character thing. So we had a bunch of free stuff, Lord of the Ring from Games Workshop, and that's what we did for like 2 hours, and that was fun. Kids really enjoyed it. They learned some techniques, and like it's for a good cause, right? It's for the kids. We introduce them to the hobby and makes them come back.
And it's really amazing that this hobby can really help people just all over the place, right? And even like interesting enough, you know, having kids getting interested in modeling and painting and whatnot as well, right?
Yeah.
And like even like I do a lot of bolt action, and even on our page,
I can tell at the back.
Yeah. So even on our page, that always, but it's perfect. But on our page, we have somebody usually posts for like, you know, like veterans, helping veterans out and what as well, right? Having like a hobby night with them to, here's a few free kits and stuff, and they just come and build, you know, model kits and stuff like that, just to help them through whatever they're going through. And you kind of do a little buddy system with them, and just get people involved, right?
Yeah.
And the importance of that mental health, like you've said before, and you know, it's awesome to hear that you're doing stuff like this.
It definitely saved my life, like in many ways. Like it gave me a purpose. That was the one thing, you know. I joined the army, I was 16, going on 17, and I retired at 40 years old on a medical bill because I got injured too many times, and they couldn't really fix me. So like, well, if we can't fix you, we can't employ you. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well, I guess I'm SOL. I'm SOL now, so what am I supposed to do?
you still have a livelihood to come up with, and
yeah. So I mean,
for sure.
I'm fortunate that this came on my radar, and I, like even like Bobby Clark, like he is my role model for painter. Like he's an achievable goal. Like Andy Warhol is like a few years from now, maybe, but Bobby, I could probably be at his standard at some point in the near future. But even when I met him when I went to the UK, he was like, JP, like, he's like, your growth from like 2020 to 2021, going on 22, was ridiculous. Like it's insane to see how much you've grown. It's like, well, I paint every day, but I also have like really good coach, like Matt Cockrill out of the UK. Like he's my coach. He's the Matt Paint 3 on Instagram, I think, and he has a really unique style, and I like his style. And maybe next year I'll try to get another coach just to dabble into a different style of painting as well, and kind of find my niche, like my style and my signature. So that someone grab the mini, be like, oh yeah, that's JP's stuff for sure, just because I have my unique signature thing.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny because I don't know what I watched. It was a video or something. People were talking about artists just in general, how when people are looking at portraits and paintings and whatnot, that they'll say, okay, that looks a little bit to have a little bit of Van Gogh kind of thing in it, right? It's the same thing with painting miniatures and whatnot. You'll see different styles, but you'll see very similar styles between artists. So you kind of can see where, okay, they've been influenced by this, but there's something slightly different, and that's when you come out as, this is my style.
Yeah, because a lot of guys paint heavy metal style, right? That's the number one reference for most guys, like box art, GW kind of style. But then it's, as an artist now, I have doing this full time. My eye is a lot more critical about certain things now, and I'm like, I can see like, okay, I see how they're doing this now. I remember like at the beginning when Instagram, I was like 9 out of 10. I was like, there's no way I can do that. Like that was at the beginning, right? 2019, 2020. And now I'm like 3 out of 10. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Oh, I can't do that. So I've grown as an artist as well. And that's a great little, like victory mark kind of deal. Like, oh, I hit that milestone, and now I can tackle something else. For me right now, it's speed. I need more speed, because you can only charge so much as an artist, a commissioned artist, but you can paint faster, and that's how you make your money. If you can churn out army fast, like Bobby, for example, he's a bloody machine. The guy pumps out an army in like a couple weeks, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I know you paint full time, but like, do you paint like 24 hours a day? Like, how can you do this so fast? Blows my mind. But like, that's where I'm at. Because I like the style, how I paint now. I just need to be able to just crank it up a notch. Maybe introduce the airbrush more. I know I just signed up for an airbrush class with like Donna at Maple Airbrush Supplies. In January, finally, they're doing classes again. So I'll be able to maybe really unlock that tool, because that tool is fantastic. Like I see, like, Angel Geralda, like he paints like entire model almost with a freaking airbrush. You're like, okay, if I could do that, then I could.
So have you done airbrushing at all, or is it all?
I dabble. Okay. I dabble for sure. But I I feel like it's underutilized at this point. Okay. But with that Black Templar army, like I have a lot of those sword brethren. They all had like flowy capes. I did all that in airbrush, and that was super fast, and that was very satisfying to be able to unlock that. But now I want to really push it out to the next level, when I can do like 80% of my paint job is done with the airbrush, and I just go after that with the brush to tie things together and do the edge highlights and stuff like that, and boom, make it pop. That's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of my 2023 goal, is to just get faster at churning out line troops. Not characters. Characters, I don't care. I like to spend a lot of time on those, because they're the centerpiece. Like if you want that guy to shine more than all the others, obviously, because like, for example, like Hellbrecht, I haven't done it yet, but like that guy's going to be like I want that guy to win a prize if it's ever entered somewhere, kind of deal. The line troops are good, but they're line troops. They're not supposed to be like amazing, all of them, right? You have to find that middle ground, otherwise you'll be at it for years and years just to do one army.
Sure. Well, it's true. It does take a long time. I know even myself, I've been slowly poking through courses with an online coach, Kenny Boucher, who's really quick at like pounding out armies as well. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do.
Okay, yeah, cool.
That's what I've been trying to do. And it's a lot of airbrush work. And even just like I've only gone to 3 of them now. So I still have like 9 banked. I've been subscribing all year. It's been a lot of extra stuff on the go. I got 3 kids under 6, right? Yeah, so it's just crazy.
It's busy, yeah.
But just in that year, like I've learned a lot of stuff. Just different ways to use the airbrush as a tool, and then lots of color theory as well, which has been pretty cool to start delving into. It's neat. It's awesome to hear your story about like where you've started and how you're growing. Because that's playing. I've been playing this game for 25 plus years, and like I know where I started as a kid, right, to where I am now, and then I very much in the same boat. I go on Instagram and I'm looking at people's artwork, and I'm just like, wow, like
that is insane.
Wow, yeah, it is insane.
Freehand stuff, like Andrew Deminov is one of the guys that does like amazing, like he does like the knights, but like the plates are like battle scene. And you're like, well, how? Like I can't wrap my head around this. Like, oh my god. And he seems to be turning down them pretty quickly too. It's not like it took me a year to do that pauldron. No, he does that quickly. The guy is he's like a miniature Picasso. It's one thing to slap paint on a model. It's another thing to create an actual believable battle scene. And you're like, I think he used the cover of this book. And he just did it on the pauldron. I'm like, okay, wow, that's awesome. Kind of not where I want to go, but some guys, they're really good at it that way.
The freehand is amazing.
You got to think too that like probably everybody's gotten from that point, from whenever they started, from the googly-eyed Marine kind of thing or guardsman to now this like dramatic looking battle scene that's on the shoulder plate of some kind of thing, right? Knight, like you said, right? And it's just like, how did you get from that point to that point?
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear. Like, I'd like to know more about some of those guys. Like, what was their journey to go from A to B or A to Z, actually? Because I feel like these guys they're masters of what they do. Is what it is. Like, I'm at best intermediate. But these guys that are masters at their craft, you can tell, and they charge a ridiculous amount of money too, because they're so exclusive. Like Andy Wardle, like he charged like $1,000 a head for a weekend. If there's 20 of us in that class, do the math.
Yeah.
And that's one event. There's a few. He's probably doing Adapticon. He's probably doing like all these other ones like that I probably don't know about, other than LVO. So that's good source of revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Obviously, that's not all going to him because it's the event that's taking its cut and this and this and that. But regardless, that's
using your knowledge and skill and probably like pretty much your life journey, especially if you're at that point of that skill set and that uniqueness of being so skilled in creating that miniature artwork or painting or whatever you're working on come to life. If you're at that point where you're bringing in making that much money on events and stuff, like it's pretty good.
Goal.
Like it's
life goals, right? Yeah,
and it's definitely like it's part of the life history of the artist too, right?
Yeah,
like
I know that when I started, I was told like make sure you don't burn out. Make sure that the hobby doesn't become a chore. And, with that big commission, like at time, I'm like, okay, I need to take a break. And I tell my clients, like, okay, dude, like because he picked up a bunch of stuff that I finished for him a couple weeks ago, and he gave me like another set of like Blade Guard veteran another set of Eradicator, another set of like Vanguard veterans, and then 2 box of Horus Heresy and 2 tank. I'm like, okay, dude, I don't mind. I'll take it, but I have other things to finish. Like, I've agreed to do this for you, and I will do this, and then whatever you added, well, it's going at the back of the line because there's other people that has
queue.
Queue. You're back in the queue. He's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. As long as this, and that. So I've been lucky. All the clients that I've had so far have been like a gem to work with. Like I'm pretty adamant. Like when I bring a client in and I sit down with them, I'm like, listen, I don't need this for a living. I do this because I love it. The minute you start being needy and difficult, or you like, here's your stuff, I don't need this. I don't. And they understand, and they're like, yeah, cool. You know, for example, like in the summer, my wife's a teacher. I'm like, well, I don't paint as much in the summer because I do stuff with my wife. She's off. So we do trips, we do camping, we take the dogs on adventures and stuff like that. Sure. So don't expect me to paint all your stuff. So that's kind of why I've been with that army for so long, because like in the summer I barely painted. I painted here and there. But and you do that. He's like, well, as long as you can give me like a small kill team, and so he gave me like a list of priorities, and I've filled all those up, and the rest is just gravy at this point. I just get given like squad at a time. Like I just finished a Redemptor Dreadnought, and then another squad of infiltrators and whatnot. So I was just like, push this out, and then he's happy with this, and that's all that matters to me at the end of the day.
You're doing this for enjoyment too, right? Like it's you don't need any extra pressure from individuals.
Now you're robbing me from my joy, and I don't need this in my life. Like I've been good at setting pretty tight boundaries with my clients, and so far everybody's respected it. Even like I remember like last year, this gym guy gave me like one of those Mortian tanks, like from Russia. And that thing came in pretty much in a bag, and no instruction.
Oh boy.
And like massive chunk of like flashes for their mold. And he's like, how much you gonna charge me for this? It's like, dude, I have no idea. I never done this before. Like I'm not even sure what I'm getting myself into. Like I'm thinking it's probably gonna take me at least 10 hours just to build this thing. Figure it out. Like there's no instruction. Plus I have to, cut everything, and then it took me forever. So I kind of gave me like a quote. It was like, this is a quote. It's not going to what it's going to cost you. It might be more. He's like, I get it. And it turned out like to be a decent quote. But at the end of the day, he was so happy with how it turned out. And even I was like, oh yeah, that's, again, the airbrush was my savior there, because it's such a big, it's like one of those like crawler thing from Mortian tanks. That's a big one that you can use for, I think, Mechanicum. It's the same kind of style. And, I helped him out. Like I threw in a bunch of magnetized option, which that's not something we agreed upon, but I don't mind to do sometimes a little bit extras. That way, clients either speak well of me and then sends me guys, and that's what he did. He kind of gave me a couple business after the fact too. So, but yeah, like stuff like that. Like sometimes you don't know, and even me at the beginning, I didn't know how to charge. I've never done this before. And you ask guys that do it, they're like, well, they always say, give you like that super vague answer of like, well, what is your time worth? I'm like, I don't know. I was in the army my whole life. Like I was not salary. I've never been like hourly wage. Like I'm not. I don't know. I figure like $25 an hour would be a good way to start, and then from there I reverse engineer what would do, and then it works. It works for me, right? So I mean, maybe one day I'll be able to charge more, but like right now, like where I'm at, I think with what I'm delivering is it's plenty. I'm happy. It pays for my paint. It pays for my extra models I want to buy, and being a small business, like there's a lot of write-offs when it comes to the studio, like brushes, paints, basing kits, models even. So that's a good place to be.
No doubt. That's awesome. In regards to the commissions and stuff that you're doing, is it like full meal deal? They basically just send you like sprues, or do you take just built stuff too, or?
Anton is like, he's not, Anton Nielsen. He's really good at building stuff. Like, he's building stuff for Paul Swenson because he hates building, but he's a phenomenal painter.
Yeah.
So Anton's like, I'll build your stuff. And I'm like, you guys organize that. It's on you, whatever. So Anton is really good at building. So his Caradon our overlords, they were all built. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, it just means I'm charging you less.
Yeah.
For my services.
For sure.
Because he was good. Like, he didn't put any arms in front of the dudes. Like so I can do like good details in and around whenever they hold their weapons and whatnot. So if the guy is really good at building stuff, and I mean, Anton has a proven track record, so I don't care. He's bringing me stuff built. But otherwise, especially that Black Templar commission, the guy wanted a lot of my highest level possible. I'm like, that needs to be on sprue, and I'm dealing with it, and I charge accordingly. I usually do like 5% extra for basing, 10% extra for like cleaning costs, like if it's and 20% if it's Forge World or Fine Cast, because I don't want to do it, so I overcharge because I hate it. Same like there's certain job that I just turned down because I have zero interest in doing.
Yeah. Like
one guy was like, "Oh, I have like a 2,000 point White Scar army." It's like, nope, I'm busy. Don't want to do this. Paying white is not. It's not pleasant. It's really hard to me, anyways. It's not something I'm enjoying. So I have no problem turning down a commission I have no interest doing, because I want this to be fun. And the Black Templars are fantastic models. They've been a dream to paint, and so are the Caradons and the big characters that I've done in there for certain guys. So
nice.
Like I'm working on that little like noise marine guy for Matt at Clumsy Dragon, because he printed some 3D stuff for me a while back that I needed. And I was like, how much? How he was like, well, it'll be like $80 or something. But do you mind painting that Space Marine for me, Noise Marine, box art? I was like, yeah, I can do that. I'll trade goods for services. And that's a good little palette cleanser. Lots of airbrushing too. Yeah. Because the air needs to be on point. So like now it's very nice.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
So yeah, I just need to do the zebra helmet next and go from there. I'm excited for that. So it's got to be before Christmas. Hopefully this week I'll have time to finish this off.
I guess armies like that, like Chaos Demons, maybe Lizardmen with, even orcs themselves with so much different colors that you see in the artwork or you see in the pictures people do. Like those must be some of the funnest armies for you to paint out.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Like like a regular, like if a guy comes to me, he's like, "Hey, can you do like a 3,000 point Ultramarine?" I'd be like,
Now, is it because of the blue or is it because it's the Ultramarine?
No, it's because it's boring. It's the blue, I guess. I mean, I don't mind reboot Guilliman's little squads of dudes. But yeah, if it was just for me, I'd rather do stuff that is a bit more eclectic. The orcs are definitely one of my favorite army. Votan is also a good one, but I have a lot of small characters that I just, when I went to Forge World, Warhammer World, there's models I've never seen before in my life. That unique to them, like they sell it there. It's only there you can get it. So stuff like that, I bought them because I'm like, it's gonna be fun. Even though it's like, it's not fine cast, but it's like, yeah, it's that resin thing. Like I really wanted this Madruk Cedras. Like it was a really cool character because it's just beautiful and super good lore around the guy as well. So I'm like, okay, done. So I bought a bunch of those. I do. That's mostly what I buy now. It's just those little character and blister packs because they're fun to do. They're quick. I could do one in a day at a very high level kind of deal. So I'm like, cool. That I like. And there've been so many good casts in the last couple months, like this year alone. Like Bayar's Revenge, and then like the new Oryx last year, and there's so many cool models. Angron's coming out soon. So that's definitely on my to-do list. One of my buddies, a big Berserker Karn guy, so I'll probably just do it for him and send it to him, kind of deal. Just because it's such a cool model. Because once it's done and it's painted, like, since I'm not a player, I mean, there's so much cabinet space that I have, so I have a tendency to give away my stuff just to the friends that I know that they'll be playing it and enjoying it, and giving them like an actual purpose than just like gathering dust in my little IKEA cabinet.
I guess in a sense that's good too for like exposure as well as getting your work on the table, so other players. Oh, do you know anybody who does commissions? Right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I like with that client, Jeremy for the Black Templar. He plays quite a bit, he goes to Red Claws and this and this and that, and it gives me exposure. Plus, some of my work is on display at the Clumsy Dragon as well, which is pretty much where I get most of my contacts now, or word of mouth. That's another big one. But now with the webpage being up and running, full frontage on the charity event, it obviously gives me a bit more traffic as well on my Instagram page, and it helps bring just like more visibility to my stuff. Right now I'm pretty swamped. I'm not taking any more commission right now because I'm completely booked for a couple months at the very least, which is a good problem to have. I remember like when I started and Bobby Clark, Red Eagle Studio in the UK is like, oh yeah, I'm booked. When I started chatting with him, it was like early 2020, I think, or late 2019, and he was like, oh yeah, dude, I'm booked until like early 2022. I'm like, what? You book almost like 2 years in advance? Like, yep. Like, well, that's a good problem to have. He had a lot of returning customers, right? Like even like the guy that bid on the Necron army was a guy in the States. Like this, so that was for 2021. He asked for reinforcement this year, so Bobby ended up doing like a couple of other things for him, since he's the one that designed the color scheme for that. He's like, yeah, sure. So and that obviously generated more revenue for him as well. So that's something eventually. So I don't mind doing reinforcement, especially like that guy like Jeremy. I just need to pace him a little bit because I'm not a machine. There's so much Black Templar I can go along. Yeah. Little palate cleanser is in order soon.
It's always nice. And we'll definitely be sure to have your socials, like all your info, just so people can look up your page and everything on the description.
Yeah, I mean, garviel.studio on Instagram, Facebook, same thing. Garviel Studio is the business page, and then the website is garvielstudio.com, pretty much. And on that, there's going to be a link for the 40 hours of 40K, which, I mean, I give it a little description of what the event is and why it's for and where it started, kind of deal, a little blip. And then the actual donation page and affiliated links and stuff like that, because that's something I started doing. I was brought on board with Fenris Workshop, so they, that's great. That's just a sign I'm moving up in the world, which is pretty good. I'm getting free stuff now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. No, absolutely. I got my first supply drop this week, and it was like some really cool product in there. I was like, nice. Okay, that's pretty neat. I like this. This is good. It works for me. So obviously I'm repping all these guys. The webpage is built around all the sponsorships and giving due to giving credit to where it's due. And I have no problem doing that. I did not build that on my own. I'm just the guy that decided to run with it. So pretty excited time. I think 2023 is going to be fun. As long as the world doesn't burn down, should be good.
True.
It's true.
But yeah, like hobby hangouts, I think it's a good idea. Even like on this,
we just came from one.
Oh, there you go.
So it was good. We ended up doing it for a heresy group that we help kind of be leaders in the community and whatnot too. And
yeah.
Between the between different systems, it's nice to get people together and just hang out. You're saying so.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's definitely something. It's harder for me to justify hanging out at night just because my wife knows I paint all day, and she's like in the evening, she's like, "Well, duh, you need to hang out with me and the dogs." Yep. But I can probably fit in like an evening and a week to kind of either join in with you guys or join in with other guys that are involved and wants to get involved in that, and then kind of coach at the same time. And I help guys with techniques and whatever. Like, it's all about, when I go to Clubs Dragon and hang out like an hour, guys are like just picking my brain like there's no tomorrow. I have no problem doing that, because there was guys that did that for me. There was guys that helped me out coaching for free and fucking helping me out. But I think it's critical for me to enjoy this, to give back to the community. It's very, very important. And so far I've been treated like so well by the community that I just want to give back. And I have time and opportunity to do it, so I'm all for it.
No, that's great. It sounds like you're doing a lot of good positive things for the community in a whole, and it's admirable for sure. It's nice just to see there's people out there still kind of concerned with other people's well-being and wanting to reach out and try and make a difference. It's a really big thing. So
yeah, definitely.
Very important for sure.
I'm enjoying the process, and I think that's the key here. Yeah, and I think the support of your family and friends and loved one is obviously tantamount. It's so important as well. Like, I know at the beginning it was so hard because my wife couldn't see it. She had no idea. She didn't understand what Warhammer was. But she's like, "What is this? And why are you doing that?"
Yeah.
But now she gets it. Now she just saw this week that Henry Cavill's been signed by Amazon to do a Warhammer series. She's like, "I've watched that." I'm like, "There you go." Little miracle. Little Christmas miracle. My wife's on board.
Those are the words every gamer wants to be able to say.
Yeah, I mean, she's never going to roll dice, but she did paint one mini when we were at the old house. I had one of those little 3D printed one that comes Drive gave me, and she slapped some colors on it, and she actually was pretty good. And I was like, okay, next we'll go on highlights and shadows. She's like, no, I'm done. There's colors everywhere. It's looking good. I'm just like, okay, you're done. Awesome, thanks.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby step. But she brought it at school because some of her kids are big into Warhammer as well. And I was there for Remembrance Day as their guest speaker. And this one kid gave me an Orc mini, it's just prime black. He's like, "Oh, there you go, I'll give you that." And I gave him I had the Warhammer Heroes, Space Marine Heroes, they did a Blood Angel this year.
Yeah.
And I bought the whole freaking thing just to make sure I had them all. And obviously 2 of them were double, so I gave him one just whatever. It's free, I don't care. So he was over the moon and brought it back, and I could see that she had a little Death Guard guy on the desk that one of the kids brought, a Poxwalker or something, and then her minis, and then this other mini that Finley brought. And I was like, "Oh, that's cute. That's awesome." And he was asking this week, he's like, "Is Mr. Lacasse doing the Secret Santa at Kingsway?" He's like, "Yeah, I think he is." He's like, "I hope he picked me." It's like, "Yeah, I bet you do."
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed this. I ended up getting getting some Mega Knobs and then the data cards for the Orcs. So now I gotta start playing, I guess. I got the data cards, I got the book, I got enough models to do a substantial army. Maybe I'll start rolling dice one day. Who knows? I know that Steve Jutes and Paul Swenson are like, "Let's make it so. That'd be so cool if you join us." Slow down. It's a lot of randomness, and I'm not really good at randomness. But I'll see what I can do. Maybe a crusade, with a bit more fluff.
Yeah,
could be more appealing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So
lots of good games out there to slowly get into, and
and there's other things too. For example, the Marvel Crisis Protocol is very, very popular. I heard, and then Zombicide, and then I got the new G.I. Joe Mission Critical.
Oh yeah,
thing. Because I grew up with G.I. Joe, and I thought
G.I. Joe's amazing. Man, go Joe, yeah.
So I got that box set this week, and it's it seems pretty straightforward to play. So I might crack that up with the boys over at Christmas. They're not painted yet, but it doesn't matter. They come in the bad guys are red and the good guys are blue, and the heroes are green. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's nice. I can work with that.
It's but you had Hero Quest, didn't you, Bill?
Yeah,
Did you get Hero Quest? Was it?
Yeah, I ended up getting the new Kickstarter Hero Quest in. And I'd like to break that out too.
Yeah. So it's funny you say A-Request is the first thing I've ever painted. So when they rebooted it in 2020, I was like, absolutely, I'm getting this. Sadly, I don't have any of those minis left. Like I donated, like I gave them to a buddy of mine way back when. I think he said he had a few left of them. But anyways, so I got the box set too, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. So many memories came back to me, like rushing. I was like, oh, this is the best. Now I just need time to paint them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. The game, like I remember when I first miniature I got was a dark elf spearman, and I wasn't even playing fantasy. I was jumping in the 40K, didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I ended up seeing these miniatures on the shelf at like the Warp 2 in the area, right?
Yeah.
And it was the first miniature I bought and I painted, and then like a few years back, they remade the dark elf spearman kit, and it was like they recaptured that spearman of that time but in plastic now, and it's just like I can so easily go and get those models and paint them up now because it's like it's there, right? So people get that, people who've been around in the game and
all around the hobby for a long time. They're like, I'm so glad they bring that back.
Yeah, it really helps. It really helps with people and players, especially if they've had a rough time in life and stuff too. Just that brings back good memories, and it hypes people up and just pushes them forward, kind of thing. And then it makes great moments. So
agreed. Yeah, agreed.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome, guys.
Yeah,
it's been awesome.
Much appreciated for the time. Thanks again for jumping on.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving me a spotlight, soapbox to jump on and talk about the charity and that it's coming. Like I said, I'll need players. I'll need reliable players. Guys are going to be showing up, and we'll be live streaming as well because the UK charity will be running their event at the same time. But because we're a bit earlier, we'll start before, so we'll be fresh.
Yeah. And
by the time we're starting to lose a bit of steam because it's end of the day, early in the evening kind of deal, they're going to kick in, and then they're going to hijack the live stream and then stream their game when they're fresh and whatever, and then we'll go back and forth like that just to give it a bit more exposure. And I think even I believe Australia is trying to, because we had a few guys from Australia that were on the team last year and the year before, and I think more and more guys want to kind of do what I've done. I've kind of trailblazed a path to kind of create satellite events that will do similar raising awareness for men's mental health and suicide prevention, which is that's fantastic. I want this to succeed. I want this to be good, and I want to help people. So I think we're on track. And you guys are helping me by allowing me a spot on your podcast. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. No, anytime. I think September 2023, we might have to dust off 40K armies, maybe jump into.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Yeah, and then I think the way we were going to do this too, since IPG is such a big space now, it's interesting. We'll probably have a couple tables to play, but there might be a table also where people can come in and do little classes and brush up their skills and whatnot, kind of do stuff just to bring people. It does have to be hardcore gamers. It could be the kids. It could be anything. It's for all ages, girls and boys and everything, right? So I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. Forward to it.
Awesome.
Well, let's make sure we stay in touch, I guess, and maybe even do a meetup at some point. Maybe roll some dice or paint, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll
I'm
definitely.
not too far. I'm south side, so I'm not too far from Taps and Clumsy and IPG. I guess it's not too far either with the Henday.
Okay, awesome, man. Definitely will.
Yeah.
Cool. Definitely will. Well, yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, awesome. Cheers.
Catch you.
Yeah.